Your White House correspondent, Selena Wang, who was also monitoring these remarks. And Selena, I want to pivot to the president's talk about the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. And this is someone that the president has been notably critical of because Powell has refused his calls to lower interest rates. The president really kind of doubling down and saying that Powell is often too late. But he was asked if he had plans to fire Jerome Powell, the president saying that, we'll probably make a change in the next 8 months, which that timing would allow Powell to serve out the remainder of his 4-year term. These are usually 4-year terms. But also he noted that he had a number of people who were lining up for this job and that he would consider, one being Kevin Hassett, another being Scott Bessent as well.
Yeah, Alex, I mean, a lot to get into here, but the backdrop here is he's really been escalating his attacks on Fed Chair Jerome Powell, pressuring him to lower interest rates, even though Powell has been emphasizing the importance of the independence of the Federal Reserve. And also, he said before that he would have already lowered interest rates if it weren't for the president's tariff policy and all of the uncertainty that it's caused. The president, as you mentioned, he was asked about whether he would fire Chair Jerome Powell. The president said it's highly unlikely unless there's fraud involved. The president mentioning the renovations of several Fed buildings. Now, several top Trump White House officials, as well as some Republican lawmakers, they've been raising questions, as well as Trump allies, raising questions about this $2.5 billion renovation of 2 historic buildings on the National Mall, suggesting that it could be weaponized against Powell to remove him from his role. And this also comes after just today, I learned from 2 White House officials that President Trump yesterday, he met with a group of lawmakers and asked them what they thought about him firing Chair Powell. And in response, those lawmakers approved of that move, and the president indicated to them that he was likely to do so soon. So despite President Trump there in the Oval Office downplaying the likelihood of firing Chair Powell, just yesterday he had told a group of lawmakers that he was likely to do so. But sources do caution to me that even though this is what the president had told those lawmakers, this doesn't mean that a decision is imminent, and also emphasize that no final decision has been made. But what is clear here is that the president is going to continue to escalate his attacks on Powell and continue to put pressure on lowering those interest rates.
Yeah, what was remarkable about those remarks, specifically about being asked about those Republicans, and the president said that he's more conservative than they are, and so he is withheld firing Jerome Powell. But listen, we were talking about the uncertainty of this, and just to kind of button up your point, whenever the news first broke about a possible firing, we saw the Dow dipped around 100 points whenever this news first came out. It appears to be back up. But Selena, we're also hearing from the CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, that's Jamie Dimon, this audio of him on a earnings call, really backing the independence of the Fed. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, look, I mean, Federal Reserve independence is something, and the threat of not having that independence has deeply spooked Wall Street investors, and as you mentioned, including from the CEO of very large banks. Now, the president, he has backed off before because we've seen those major market reactions. We saw that the bond markets got very scared of President Trump's Liberation Day. The president backed off of that. So the president obviously is paying attention to the markets, and Federal Reserve independence is absolutely critical. That was created to operate outside of political pressure. Fed Chair Powell has said that there is still uncertainty. It's unclear now what exactly President Trump's tariff policy is going to mean, but Powell says that he believes it is going to lead to more inflation later this year. Because of that, he's not going to lower interest rates. He feels very confident about maintaining where rates are right now. Now, President Trump, on the other hand, he of course wants those interest rates to be lowered so that people can then have lower borrowing costs. That of course affects everything from mortgages, student loans, car loans as well. So there are 2 competing factions right here, and Fed Chair Powell has made very clear just how critical that independence is.